without a crystal ball. Welcome to my channel. It's time to talk about some news related to Myka and James Stauffer, although indirectly related to this family. It's been about a month and 2 weeks since we learned the fate of Huxley, and it was earlier this week that we truly learned the fate of Huxley and that he is currently living with a family that's taking incredible care of him, and everyone in this situation is apparently going to just move on with their lives, including Myka and James Stauffer, who are continuing to upload content onto the Stauffer garage. Wah, wah, wah. Myka and James Stauffer's statement and their ripple effect of how they came into the decision of placing their son Huxley, who they had only recently adopted a few years before, into the custody of another family, brought on this larger conversation on the platform about what it means to have a child on YouTube. So as we started looking into it and diving into it, we watched that the Stauffers were able to amass a very large platform, make a lot of money, and utilized Huxley in order to facilitate that. James Stauffer was in interviews basically saying, hey, we made this humongous gain in our fame. We saw the response we got by featuring Huxley, and we ran with it. So here we are today, and we are going to talk about a family that is making a change. And some families have sort of buckled in and they've refused to say anything. Some families are going to continue on and do things as they always have, and other families are deciding to make changes. Now, I'm not here to condone or condemn anyone, nor am I going to say anything about the person that I'm sharing today because, to be honest, I don't know a ton about her background, but I know enough that what she is saying is hopefully going to resonate with some people, and I think it's a message that needs to be widely seen by other people. Vanessa Christine is a vlogger. She says that she has been on the platform for about 10 years. Her channel has about 236,000 subscribers, and she's had about 54 million views. In a video that she uploaded only a few days ago, Vanessa let her subscribers know that she would be deleting a lot of her content as a result of everything that had happened with Huxley and the Stauffers. Her specific story had really resonated with me because her daughter, who she says is Lily, was born with a genetic condition called Turner's. In her video, she mentioned that Lily had basically been on the screen of YouTube ever since her birth, and a lot of very moments that she might not want to see later down the line made her stop and pause on whether or not it was okay for her to be sharing this. As a mother of a child on the spectrum and with their own stuff going on, I would say this was a similar situation that I came to when my son was about 5, and I stopped writing about him and sharing a ton of photos with him on the public platform, and I still don't really give a ton of updates about what goes on in our lives. Every parent has to balance whether or not they want to share or they do want to share, and whether or not they feel like their child would be okay with this down the line. And Vanessa shared a couple things that led her to this choice.
Noticed either, but within the past week, I have slowly but surely, more so one day than the other, I started privating a lot of my videos, and I did this for a multitude of reasons, but the main reason and the reason why, like, I started rethinking what I had posted was because of the whole Stauffer situation. And not only has this situation affected the YouTube community, specifically family channels, but it's also affected the adoptive community, the international adoptive community, and the special needs community. I was like, this is relevant to me, and I kind of feel like I've done something wrong as well. Being that, you know, I started looking into my older content. You guys, I started YouTube like 10 years ago, so older content. A lot of the stuff that I had online was not okay. I didn't necessarily put that content online with malintent. I didn't say, oh, I want to do this for the views, or I'm posting this for the views, but for the most part, like, looking back on it, I'm like, this isn't something that should be looked back on. This is too personal to have online.
So in that clip, she discussed about how she had made this decision because of everything that happened with Huxley, and that it made her actually go through and look at her old content and really evaluate whether or not it was okay for her to have this on the platform. And she realized that some of the content that she had put out there was far too personal and she shouldn't have posted it. And because of that, she was going to be deleting and privating videos. And she mentioned, even though I cut it out, was that she talked about this idea of, does a child have a voice and a choice for what is actually on the platform? And she said that she is no longer going to be a part of the problem, even though she admits that at one time she was indirectly part of it. She went on to talk about how she began sharing her daughter's journey
online. And I specifically saw this a lot with the content that I have about my daughter. I don't want to say exactly because she could probably hear me right now, and I don't want her to. Anyway, my daughter is an 8-year-old little girl, and she has Turner syndrome, and she's been on YouTube since the day she was born. And the older she gets, the more I realize that I have done an injustice to her. I have put her in a place where people can go online and see all this stuff, and you don't know. You honestly don't know. Every child is different. I mean, for all I know, Lily could be this really strong-willed kid, or she could be very sensitive, and that sort of content could be embarrassing to her, or could be something that she didn't want to share personally online. And how is that going to affect her mental health? How is that going to affect her relationship with other kids? How is that going to affect her relationship with other adults? Because what if one of her teachers sees my channel and goes, oh, she's in my class? Or what if, like, you know, someone in her school sees that's an adult, an authority figure, and sees my channel and says, you know, I really don't like this family. And then they reflect that feeling that they have onto my daughter. It doesn't sit well with me.
So she started thinking about what it would be like for people to Google her daughter's name, and what happens when her daughter is able to Google her name and see the kind of content that's out there that relates to her as she gets older. What happens when a classmate can Google her daughter's name and find out information about her that perhaps she didn't want to share? What happens if a teacher Googles her name, or even someone in school? What happens if people are able to make an opinion on Lily because of what her mom posted, and it affects Lily in a negative light, and it embarrasses her, or it makes her feel bad? These are questions that I feel like parents on these channels don't really understand. And I commend her for making this choice. And I'll admit, I actually spoke to her briefly. She said that she started following my Instagram and my channel after I started posting about Myka. And when I went to Instagram, I noticed she was following me. I reached out to her and I just commended her and I said, thanks for making this video. I do think more families need to talk about this. She shared with me that there are lots of families right now that are really starting to think about this, that are privating videos and being a little bit more careful in what it is that they're putting out there. She also said that she feels tremendously guilty for the fact that she put this content out there and was contributing to the problem for such a long time without really consciously thinking about it, because as you're on this world of YouTube, you start to put things out there for views and for money, and you don't really think about, is this too much? Is my child being protected? Is this okay? Because it becomes sort of like you don't even think. You lose a filter, right? And so for her, she's going to delete stuff and she's going to private stuff and she's going to do her best, she said, to no longer be a part of this problem because she wants to start to protect her child's privacy. And I know some people will be critical and they'll say, well, it only took for Myka to do this. But if this is how we make change on this platform, we have to start to think about the good things that can happen. Yes, bad things have happened with Huxley and bad things have happened as we've looked at other channels. But we also have to talk about the good. We're opening up dialogue, and that's what her video wants us to do. It wants you guys to start to talk about what's okay and what's not okay. I came to this conclusion very similar to her, and she was talking about searching online. That's called your digital footprint. When I made the choice to stop talking about my son, it was because I started reading about digital footprints and what it means for a child to have a digital footprint before they really have a choice. And when I thought about it in that context, that I was making a digital footprint for my son before he really had a say, I made the conscious decision to stop that digital footprint by not featuring him, by not putting photographs on my Instagram. I always cover his face, by leaving things relatively vague, and by not talking about him very frequently, because it's his story, it's his choice, it's his voice. I made mistakes too. It's easy, it can happen. And if you don't recognize that you make mistakes and that you are making mistakes, you can't evolve and change. And so some people might see her and be like, oh, she's just been exploiting her kids for such a long time. It's too little, it's too late. Is it? If we want growth and if we want change, and if she wants to hold herself accountable, was what she told me. She said, Katie, I'm the kind of person that if I see that I've done something, I'm going to be accountable. And I'm going to be accountable to myself, and I'm going to be accountable to my family, and I'm not going to be a part of that problem anymore. So in an age where we're demanding accountability, we should be praising those people that do take accountability and are doing so authentically and are going to be practicing what they preach. So for her, we just need to make sure, hey, are you going to keep on this channel? Are you going to keep going on with your kids? Or are you going to be more careful? Because that's what we should want. We should want our children to be protected and to have privacy, and we should not be putting out, in my opinion, too much information about our kids for the world that they might not want the world to have when they're older. So, I want to know what your thoughts are. Are you in agreement? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think this is going to open up a wider dialogue? I want to thank Vanessa for sharing with me, and I also want to thank her for allowing me to use these clips from her video. And I'm going to link her full video below because I want you to watch the whole video so you can get her full context of what it is she's saying, because I really think that what she is saying is so valuable and a lot of people need to hear. If you guys have comments or questions or concerns, make sure you leave me some in the description box below. Make sure that you have subscribed to my channel, turn on notifications, and make sure you've set them for all, as well as give this video a thumbs up and share it with some friends if you liked what I covered today. All right, you guys, I'll be back later with more. Bye.